my fellow human beings, and welcome to episode 159 of The Best Blessed Life. I'm your best host, Kristen, and today's topic is, Bruschetta not chicken out, because it's not ImpastaBowl. Before we get started, I want to thank you all for watching. Please continue to watch, comment, share, like, subscribe, ring that bell, and please pass them on to anyone you think they would help. With that being said, here's our list of things to do today. This is my reminder to you to check out either my Facebook page at Kristen Haas, KristinHass, or Instagram at The Best Blessed Life. Those are the two that I share my story or my daily mantras on every day. Mostly. I might take a break every once in a while. We're going to talk about working smarter, not harder. So far, that hasn't really worked well for me today. And lastly, we're going to make a crock pot bruschetta chicken. I had to think about how to pronounce it because I looked up the exact way to pronounce it. It was bruschetta. Okay. If I butchered it, I apologize. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is we're using, it calls for 2 pounds of chicken breast, boneless, skinless. And I am using 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. That's just my go-to in a crock pot for sure. I am really anti-chicken breast lately. I cannot figure out a way to try and make it as moist as possible. So I don't know if I've just given up or what the case is, but chicken thighs. It calls for 2 cups of diced tomatoes, a 1/4 cup of basil, fresh basil, 2 cloves of garlic, oh crap, I forgot to put what that was. I think it's a 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar, which I forgot to get out. 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and optional is to, before you serve it, use about 1/2 cup of mozzarella to put on the top. My added things are, I am using a pre-made bruschetta from Trader Joe's that has a good portion of those things. I would say it's a little lacking in basil. So I do have a little bit of dried basil that I'm going to add. And then I would say I'm probably going to add a little bit of chicken stock because I am adding vegetables. So I'm going to add, I put in 1 pretty decent sized zucchini. I would say it's a large zucchini, maybe 2 medium, 2 to 3 small, depending on how much you want in there. And then I'm also going to do some mushrooms, light mushrooms. I think they're cremini or baby portobello. I think those are interchangeable. So essentially what we're going to do is we're just going to put everything in the crock pot and we're going to be done. And then I'm going to torture you. No. So what I am adding also is a can of diced tomatoes with onion in it. And that is the liquid we were supposed to get if we had made the bruschetta ourselves. We were supposed to keep that liquid and add it to the bruschetta. So I am going to, in fact, add that whole can with the sauce and everything into it. And then I think that's about it as far as the recipe goes. I do want to touch base and tell you a little bit about where bruschetta came from. So it originated in central Italy, specifically Lazio and Tuscany, as far back as ancient Rome. Though it became common in the 15th century, it was developed by olive growers to taste freshly pressed oil using toasted bread to avoid wasting stale bread. This is, again, just on Google. Key details. The definition, the name comes from the Roman dialect verb bruscere, meaning to roast over coals. Original form, it was simply grilled bread, rubbed with garlic, and drizzled with olive oil and salt. And then, what happened? And then regional names in Tuscany, it was known as fettunta, which is oily slice, while in Calabria, it was called feta bruschetta. I am sorry if I am butchering this. The popular tomato topping was added much later as tomatoes were introduced to Italy in the 16th century. So I think that was the last of, yeah. It began as a humble rustic snack for farmers and olive pickers before becoming a staple Italian appetizer. So there you go. I thought that was pretty interesting. So essentially, I think I'm just going to bring everything over here. I'm just going to, because I already have the chicken in the crock. What a crock. So I got I got 6 thighs out of it. I went through and I trimmed them up a little bit so there's not a lot of fat or gristly parts in there. Okay. And then we're going to stop that from rattling. Okay, so then we're going to add our bruschetta. Wonder if I should have put it in a... Okay. So it does have a decent amount of basil. I wouldn't say it's the greatest. So I'm probably going to add... All right, here's my... I did grab a little bit of extra minced garlic. I don't know if I remember saying that or not. Plus, once I add this extra can of tomatoes, I feel like that is going to be required. All these extra spices, if you will. So the first thing I want to do is I think I'm going to put a little bit of the dried basil in here, because I just want a little bit on the chicken itself. I have never tried this Trader Joe's bruschetta either, so fingers crossed. All right, I'm going to dump this extra can, liquid and all. Okay, if it wants to come out. I just felt like it needed extra. You know, I want to turn it in. Here's my other thing. There wasn't really any other, like, sides listed as to what you serve it with. So I thought the best thing would be to make pasta, and that's where the ImpastaBowl came from. So I am not indeed cooking the pasta with this because it always turns out like mush. I really don't like it. I'm just going to use spaghetti, I believe, is my theory. And I want to get this garlic in here. I want it in there. Go. All right, now we're going to do a little salt and pepper. I get it mostly on the chicken, which I guess I should have, you know. I think that's a lot of pepper. All right. I think that's it for now. Let me really grab anything to stir this with. I'm getting out my favorite spoon if I can get it out without knocking the sign over. So this is really the exact opposite of working smarter, not harder. What does that mean to you guys, by the way? That's my question. I'm trying to get the actual bruschetta sauce mixed with the just the tomato onion. I think it was a sweet onion one too, which I haven't seen very much, but I got it at Meijer. So, all right. So I think I got these pretty well intermingled and covered with the olive oil. It's going to be, I'll just been wanting to try this dish for quite a while. Really, that's it. Can you believe that? We're all done. See ya. Bye-bye. No, I am going to add... I'm trying to decide if I want to let the chicken cook for a little bit before I add the chicken stock. I guess it couldn't hurt to add a little bit of it, right? Let's kind of do it. I just want to be able to make a sauce with it when we're done, so we have something to cover our pasta with. And I just want to make sure the chicken is good and coated. I really didn't use that much at all. I'm going to leave it out just in case I notice that it is starting to like. Okay, now for my crock pot specifically, and maybe you have to play around with yours a little bit. I had an issue with just doing the low and slow thing wasn't really low, or at least not on this one. I have another one that's digital that I should pull back out, but this one's bigger. So for stuff like this with the 2 pounds of chicken, it would have been kind of crowded. So, but there's not much control on this one. You don't get to decide hour-wise. It's just like you essentially have to be here to turn it on and off. I'm looking at the front of this like it's got the dial on it. You got to be here to turn it on and off. So if you're late coming home from work or something, this is not the meal. This is not the crock pot you should be using. Anyway, so what I do for mine is I put mine on low and cook it for the high time. Okay, so it's going to be set to low, but it's only going to cook for 2.5 to 3 hours. And that to me is plenty. When you cook chicken for 6 hours, especially chicken breast, there's just no way. I feel like there's just no way to kind of salvage it at that point. So, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of cooking chicken in a crock pot, and yet I do it every time. I think I'm trying to perfect it for me, for my tastes. So I'm going to just give you a pick of what it looks like. It's all pretty much covered. And one chicken. I'm not calling you a chicken. Sorry. All right. I just want to get it all. Because here's my other thing, and I don't know if anybody else notices this about crockpot cooking, that you can season the crap out of it, like to within inches of its demise. And you pull it out of the crock pot and it doesn't taste like anything. I think my taste buds are going. All right, so as you could probably guess, I am not going to be turning this on yet because it's 10 a.m. So I'm not going to be eating at 12:30. Okay, so it's going to go in here. I mean, if you're uncomfortable with being out for a while, I probably will end up putting it in the binding room in the fridge. That's funny. That's the funny. Okay. So, pretty easy, right? The only thing that really caused me the most issue was trimming up the chicken thighs because it doesn't seem like anywhere you get them from that they're completely, they completely have no fat on them whatsoever. And while I do use the chicken thighs for that fat, I don't want it, I don't want that much on. Because it does tend to toughen up on the ends and stuff, and it's not crock pot worthy. You know what I mean? It's not going to like when you bake something in the oven or roast it, how it might get browned and crispy, and then that fat becomes really bad for you, but really delicious. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not going to eat the fat off the chicken thigh because it's not going to get like browned. But I am still working for the perfect chicken in the crock pot. Because I've tried a whole chicken too. And that was a disaster as well. That took forever to cook. Anyway, so I want to talk about working smarter, not harder. And how does doing more on one end of things feel less like you're working harder? Okay, I'll give you an example. I'll talk about prepping for this show, okay? So it takes me a good bit, but I do most of it on the day of. Do I wish I would be proactive and do it the day before or even a couple days before? Sure. But what I want to explain to you is that that's kind of where my shortcomings are. And what does working smarter, not harder mean to you? Because essentially, you're probably doing the work. It just seems like you're doing less, unless you're delegating it to other people. So, in essence, yes, I have delegated or asked, begged, and pleaded for Peyton to help me with this. And she's been more than awesome about it and is really getting pretty quick about it. And so that takes the setup off my plate. So before that, I would do the signs maybe a couple days before, so that on filming day, all I had to do was bring them down, set up the food, cut up the food, and then essentially set up all my cameras and my signs and things. Which, when I look back at it, was like, if I was still the only one doing anything with, I wonder if I would still be doing it. I missed it dearly when I was on my break. And I love the fact that when I'm making something simple, like a slow cooked meal, that the prep can happen and everything about it can happen all at once, because there's not much to do. Like, if you bought this pre-made bruschetta, I think they called it bruschetta sauce. I think. Let's see, what does it say? Yeah, bruschetta sauce. Roma tomatoes with olive oil, basil, and garlic. I don't know why I came out like that. So that was something that I essentially could have just dumped in there, and been done with it. Like, seriously, cut up the not like cut off the fat and everything from the chicken, and then poured the bruschetta on top, and then turned it on and gone about my day. Well, 2.5 to 3 hours of my day anyway. But there's something to be said for that seeming to be me working smarter, so I don't have to think about dinner. Like, it's going to be a little bit of a project. Like, I've still got to make the pasta. I still am going to add the veggies later, because both those vegetables are things that kind of get mushy if you leave them in stuff too long. And I didn't want them to absorb all of the sauce. So I want it to be something, maybe I should pre-roast them even. I might do that. So that they have their own little bit of coating on them and they won't take up, and I can season them separately. I think that might be the way to go. But to be smarter and not harder doesn't mean that you don't do the work. At least that's what I think in my head. So am I wrong? Like, I start to do things, like I'm going to do things for work tomorrow, so that my morning goes quicker. Like, I am done doing my showering and taking care of the dog and feeding the bunny and all of those things. If I had to fix the bunny's plate and then do that and then feed the dog and then take him back out and so on twice, then I would be like, okay, my day is, and now I have to get up earlier. Well, I decided to fix the bunny's plate and get that all done, get my clothes ready. So I am prepping the day before. Is that smarter? I'm still doing the work, but there's less stress involved. So is smarter preventing things from being stressful? Because that's, I think, how I think. Wow, this is really helping me talk it out. So my smarter, not harder isn't necessarily less work. It's just less stress involved with it. Wow, kind of a breakthrough for me. I'm really baffled by that. See what happens when you talk stuff out. A walk like this around the block a few times, if it wasn't raining out, would have helped tremendously. But to think about the setup every time I do this, it's not like it's daunting. It's just a lot of steps. I don't mind doing the steps. The steps are perfectly fine. There's no way to avoid um, doing them in order to make a recipe for something because they give you the steps. See what I'm saying? There's no way to, but if you can come up with shortcuts, that would be one way to make it smarter, not harder, unless you have to go and get those things to make it a shortcut. Then are you really helping yourself out? These were things I had on hand. Pretty much everything I had on hand. So I didn't have to, oh, I lied. I didn't have the veggies on. So I did go get those. But I was going to the store anyway, and I knew I was going to want to have, it's going to be almost like a primavera type of thing when I'm done, I feel like. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to finish off the sauce. If I'm going to need to then put it in a skillet or something and like zhuzh it up. Like maybe add more chicken stock. So these are steps that are going to happen along the way, and I'm not going to know about them until they happen. So hopefully during the description of this video, I'll be able to, give you some end results. Reviews maybe would be more logical coming up after. So make sure you are following me on Instagram and Facebook for sure. So Instagram is at the Best Blessed Life, and Facebook is at Kristen Haas, KristinHass. Make sure you subscribe. A lot of times people think they're subscribed and they're really not. So make sure to check that out and press that subscribe button. And I wanted to talk about challenges. I knew there was one more thing. The sign went out. So I am continuing this challenge for at least this week as well. So this is kind of what happened just now. Walking baby steps. Like walking, if I had been walking and been processing all of what I just said about the whole work smarter, not harder thing, like I probably would have processed that a little bit differently. Because while I sometimes can be caught talking to myself on a walk, that is the most productive for me. So I can be thinking it, but I know my mouth is either mouthing the words that I'm thinking or I'm actually saying them out loud. So a lot of people probably think I'm totally crazy. But things like that happen. Like I'm trying to get my body in some shape so that I can go back and at least do some 5Ks. Because I do really miss the camaraderie and the participation. And it's not like overly strenuous. I don't run to compete. I don't run to win. I don't run to get a better time. Although, I mean, that did motivate me to keep going. But I also didn't run for a very, 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 very long time because I ran track in what would be most people's middle school, but I went to a school that was K through 8th. So 7th and 8th grade, I think it was in track. 1 year? I don't know. You'd think I would quit because I kept getting put on the longest, like the 1600. And I'm like slow. And I used to get this horrible stitch in my side. And I'd run past my coach and I'd be like, why do you keep giving me the longest one when you know I'm the slowest person? Like what thing? You're not motivating me because I know you don't think I can run this race. Like I know you don't. That makes sense? I felt like he knew I wasn't going to win, obviously, but like most of the time I don't even think I finished. So I'm like, what kind of motivation is that? You know what I mean? Like, you put me on something I really dreaded. Like, I loved relays. I didn't mind doing relays. But I couldn't figure out the motivation. Like, when you're trying to inspire somebody to become better and think of themselves more in a competitive form, you would think you'd give me something where I could at least run a certain distance and finish and be like, okay, that felt really good. Now let me try something else. That way I could at least see, oh, I can be fast. When there's an when there's an end in sight, I can be fast. So but I never got the opportunity to run those quick ones. But maybe he knew something I didn't. I don't think so, not really. But what do I know? Okay, guys, I think that about wraps it up. Let me check. 26 minutes. And that's mostly me talking. That only took about 10. Okay, so I will definitely give you updates. So make sure you're following me. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're passing them along to people they can help. And yeah, I think that's about it. And with that, I want to thank you all for watching. Please continue to watch. And as always, I hope you have a good day. Go do great things. Be your best self. And please live your best blessed life. Thanks for watching. Bye.